Let's talk about the other teams maybe, right? Auburn's struggling right now. And the numbers show that when a team starts really fast like they have and struggles at the end of the season, they don't play as well in the tournament. Like that's a thing. Florida, to everyone's point, unbettable right now, right? The number, you could have gotten it 3 days ago at a lot better number. In Houston, I think to me still, there's periods of offense where they just don't have it. And that does worry me in this tournament.
Welcome again, everybody. Bear Bets Podcast is back. It is the most anticipated, most looked forward to, maybe week of the sports calendar. Everybody loves March Madness and the first couple of days of the tournament. Productivity at work at an all-time low on Thursday and Friday, except if you were in a sports book, which we all wish that we could be watching the NCAA tournament. With plenty of action on the line. Jeff, my friend, seems like there are a lot of foregone conclusions here. People expecting a lot of one seeds to make it deep run into the Elite Eight, the Final Four, or whatever. But how did we do last week? I'm sorry I couldn't be with you last week. I was indisposed time, but we're good. Everything came back good, so we're good.
You're very indisposed at the time of recording. Yes. I am good. I mean, Sammy Will ganged up on me when you were out, but I managed to survive. Man, these next couple of weeks, man, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday are just the most fun, right? We got games from basically 12 p.m. Eastern, right, Bear, all the way till way past my bedtime. Yep. And it's going to be that way for many days in a row. My Oregon Ducks, Bear, don't tip off till probably 10:30 Eastern.
You got
Friday
no
night,
shot.
The final game. No, it's scheduled for 10. So I gave myself 30 minutes, probably more like an hour. So we got wall-to-wall college basketball. Look, it has been – last year was a very public March Madness, Bear. A lot of the public sides won for the first time in a long time. These last couple of weeks feels like it's sort of been that trend as well, where the expected team has won and covered. So I'm curious if we get some of some craziness, some madness, as they say, for this tournament next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it did feel like, despite getting a ridiculous seed combination and some ridiculous upsets, like people were betting NC State throughout. The numbers were kind of low. People were betting UConn. People were betting Purdue. It did feel like a lot of those sides were getting through, and that's kind of what it's been so far. Is it going to? That's what it was in the NFL season. Like, are we going to see like the revenge of the bookmakers come NCAA tournament time here, and the perceived public sides are going to wind up losing? But some teams that maybe be public sides, maybe not public sides. Everyone loves a Cinderella in March Madness. So. Is there a team out there, whether it's seed-wise or odds-wise, that you maybe could foresee making a nice run to potentially the Final Four?
So when I look at the Cinderellas, Bear, I know it's fun to look at like the George Masons, right? The Florida Gulf Coast. They're actually are not going to win, right? Like they're a fun story, not going to win. So I went with a team that is sort of from a power conference that maybe I went with Xavier here, Bear. I know they're the 11 seed. They can be out immediately because they're in the playing game against Texas, right? But they sort of have a profile of a team that can get hot, right? They shoot the ball well. They don't turn the ball over now. They can't rebound, which does worry me, Bear. But a little bit of 2021 UCLA is in them, where the Bruins were the 11 seed in the playing game, all the way to the Final Four, and lost to the Jalen Suggs shot by Gonzaga there. So I see a little bit of Xavier maybe in that Bruin team. They shoot well. They shoot foul shots well. They don't turn the ball over. They can't rebound, though. I'm not sure they have like a Jaime Jaquez on their team. But I do like Xavier here as sort of a long shot in a big conference, a power conference, as an 11 seed.
I'm gonna be that guy that I hate being and like correcting and then like calling you out. But I don't want the fan base and the alumni to get mad at you, Jeff. It just Xavier. It's not Xavier. Just. All right, just so you know, I'm trying to, as a friend, I don't want
Xavier.
I don't want you getting admonished and yelled at.
I did pick up to win the championship, so I mean, if they're angry at me for picking the championship, then I don't know what to do about
exactly.
That.
It's a good problem to have. If that's the case.
Xavier. There we go.
Yeah, thank you. And now everybody's happy. And I don't want to get yelled at for saying, it's Xavier, idiots out there. Couple that I played, Virginia Commonwealth, Ole Miss, like 40-1, 30-1, somewhere in that range to make a run. I think Ole Miss's bracket potentially could open up for them. And if VCU can get past BYU in a really great first-round game in Denver, I think they have an opportunity to get there as well. So there's 3 for you: Xavier, VCU, Ole Miss, if you're looking for a nice tournament dark horse to make a run towards that Final Four. Again, in the group chat time, once again, as we kick off the NCAA tournament preview. One seeds are seen as high and mighty here. We're well above the field, but usually a 1 seed does win. I don't know how many will advance, but Duke currently the favorite to win the NCAA tournament. Florida, who suddenly turned into like 1991 UNLV. All of a sudden, the Gators have a lot of backers. We'll start with you, Will. I would expect Cooper Flagg to be back by Sunday. I think they'll be able to get by the 16 without them. But which of these tournament favorites appears to be the favorite of the favorite for you?
I would say Duke. I mean, you just look at their numbers with Ken Pom, and boy, that was pretty impressive to go past a Louisville team that's pretty damn good on Saturday night and just win that game and win it comfortably without 2 stars. It shows the depth. The depth is really, I think, something that is underrated and something man, if you told me they're going to lose Flagg and lose another starter and just roll through that tournament like they did, I would have been, pretty surprised. So to me, they're a cut above. They do have the best player in the tournament, and they got the number 1 pick. It's a little similar. If you want to poke holes in Duke, it is a little similar. I haven't heard anyone bring this up. Remember 2011? They were bringing the number 1 player in the NBA draft upcoming with Kyrie Irving back into the mix, missing most of the season. They got picked off in the Sweet 16 against Wisconsin. So you never know. This is a little different because Kyrie missed most of that year. Flagg has been there. So it's not apples to apples. But to me, Duke is the best. If you want to talk about one that's vulnerable, I thought Auburn, even though they got the number 1 overall seed, did not get any favors with possibly having to play Louisville in Kentucky and Lexington. That's not a great draw, but to me, Sammy, Duke is a cut above the rest of these teams.
I don't remember 2011. That was my first full year of alcohol. So no, I don't. I don't. When you said 2011, I just went blank for a second. Let's talk about Florida. Okay, on Friday morning, they were 8-1, the Gators, to win the whole thing. One book had plus 850. Bear, I have never seen a team go from 8-1, 850
amazing
to 350 in like 3 days. Now, a couple things happen. Flagg gets hurt, and Florida rolls through the SEC. But I'm not betting Florida at 340, 350, whatever. If anything, I think at the price, Auburn is a decent play at 4-1. I'm buttered with Duke, though. Somebody texted me, Jeff, one of our loyal listeners, Flagg gets hurt. One of our listeners said, nice call on Duke. Like it's my fault Flagg gets hurt. I like Duke. I want Duke to win, but I am not betting Florida at plus 380, whatever the price is, off of 8-1 on Friday.
And what's funny about the Duke thing is you said Duke to the Final Four, right? And that price basically is unchanged. It went down 10 cents. So like the books didn't even move that number, even with Flagg getting hurt. Look, I'm on Duke. I hate to be with the chorus here, but let's talk about the other teams maybe, right? Auburn's struggling right now. And the numbers show that when a team starts really fast like they have and struggles at the end of the season, they don't play as well in the tournament. Like that's a thing. Florida, to everyone's point, unbettable right now, right? The number, you could have gotten it 3 days ago at a lot better number. And Houston, I think, to me, still, there's periods of offense where they just don't have it. And that does worry me in this tournament. The point that I like about Duke, and Will mention this as well, is what they did in the tournament without Cooper Flagg. So like the third or fourth and fifth player elevated themselves to play better to help out the team. Well, that's going to help when Flagg does come back. And now everyone has experience of playing these high pressure games without their superstar. So add the superstar back in, and this team is going to be just that much better come turn. And their side of the bracket, guys, is not difficult. I mean, they get presumably the winner of Oregon, Arizona. Those teams are beating Duke. Does Alabama get through?
Arizona has no chance against Duke.
Is Arizona beating Akron? Are we certain about Arizona and Tommy Lloyd?
Yes, they're beating Akron.
So I think they're beating Akron too. But let's just say it's 1 versus 2. Like, we trust Alabama to beat Duke? I don't. So I think Duke's a good pick to at least get to the Final Four here.
It's a pretty nice draw to the Elite Eight, and we can clip what Jeff said about Duke having an easy draw and a soft bracket, and we could just maybe save that for next year and the next year and the year after, and we could have used it last year and 2 years ago. It does seem like Duke, and not to be conspiracy theory, but it does seem like Duke more often than not. You look up and say, man, that's their path, and it's opposed to these other teams where last year UConn has a gauntlet, this year Auburn has a tough draw. It does seem bare like Duke more often than not. Oh, what do you know? They have a decent draw here.
Will, what was the year of the Arizona posterization of Duke in the 16 where they beat them? What year was that? You potentially get another Duke Arizona Sweet 16. I don't know, man. I'm not the biggest Tommy Lloyd Arizona fan in the world, but they've showed me something certainly in the Big 12 tournament. And being that nobody asked me or I didn't get a chance to answer the question, I think Houston is the most likely of those number one seeds to get to the Final Four. Back at Bear Bets podcast, we have official fact checkers during the show. We were kicking it around and breaking. It was 2011, the Derek Williams posterization year that beat Duke. It was not Wisconsin in 11. So I don't think any of us remembered that. But 93-77, 2011 Sweet 16 was was that game. But Arizona was a bit of a dark horse there. I started with Will last time, Sammy, so I'll start with you. There a dark horse out there in terms of seed or price that you might be looking at to maybe make a deep run here?
I like Alabama at 22-1, but if that's not dark enough, let's go down to Texas Tech. This is a team that offensively is very, very dangerous. And we already discussed the overhype and the infatuation with Florida. Well, when Florida goes down, other teams go up price-wise. So it's made the prices nicer on St. John's. I'm not a Johnny's guy. Sorry, guys. I don't like teams that can't shoot. And they can't. I mean, they can win in other ways, but they can't shoot. So I look at Tech and what they can do on that 3 line in the West. Yes, they could beat the Johnnies, and they could give Florida a game. You could find Texas Tech 40-1 to win the national championship, and I think that's a dark horse. Well,
I asked in our text thread, guys, like what considers a dark horse, and Sammy said any seed outside the top 16, and then he picks a 3 seed. So I don't really know.
Right, I think the price dictates it more than the seed.
Oh, well, you want me to quote the text message? Will, do we get the same text message back that said it has to be a team outside the top 16?
I like Duke as a dark horse to win. Yeah.
Duke, Geoff Schwartz's challenge has been upheld, or calling the field has been overturned. Jeff retains his challenge for the second half. That's a good call by Jeff. Look, we're going to get into this team, this game. There's a lot of differing opinions on this, which I think makes it interesting. Not that they're going to win it all, but I did find a 100-1 on UC San Diego to make the Final Four. I think they match up very well against Michigan, and we'll get into that game. Michigan turns it over a lot. UC San Diego turns you over. I think Michigan 3 games in 3 days in altitude. Now they got now they have to play in altitude after playing 3 games in 3 days. I think that's a very dangerous game. And then they get A&M in Yale, the winner of that game. I think Yale's very live in that game. So you give me 100-1 on a team where, who knows? I got a path, I think, to maybe a Sweet 16, and then we'll see what happens after that. I think that is an interesting team here to watch, Jeff.
The Michigan UCSD game, that the number on that one feels small. We'll talk about it in a second, I would imagine. I took Clemson for this one. They are 5 seeds, so outside of Sammy's parameters here. They shoot the 3 well. They shoot their foul shots well, which is something Sammy mentioned, I think 2 weeks ago, is important to watch here, guys. Like the teams that shoot the foul shots really well are teams that tend to win these close tournament games. They don't turn the ball over, and they play good defense. Like all those things I think matter in the postseason. So they're right outside that cut line. I think I have down here 6,500, so 65-1 to get home here. So I got Clemson from the ACC, and the ACC what's the right word, Will? They play better than their seed every year. Like
they outperform their seed.
Outperform their seed every year. So there we go. I got Clemson here as my dark horse.
Yeah, has anybody seen have the conference win? I mean, we're recording this.
DraftKings has them, but Connecticut doesn't have them. I wanted to take under 11.5 for the Big Ten, and our buddy Trip Tepper reached out to me and said, "What do you think about this Big Ten under 11.5?" I said, "I love it. The only problem, I'm looking every part of the menu on DraftKings, and we don't. That's one of those things. Connecticut is just so tight with these regulations, where we don't have it. I would love to.
You and I need to take a ride up 91, maybe tomorrow on Wednesday, and maybe have lunch by. Do they? Okay, because I mean those I think are always fun to look at, and that's a Clemson team that made a deep run last year, and the majority of the team is back, and they kind of got the bad end of the whistle in that ACC tournament. So I think they are a team that could make a run. I like Ole Miss. I mean, it's funny. Chris Beard has won as many games in their run to the Final Four in 2019 as Ole Miss has won all time in their program in the NCAA tournament. But you look at Ole Miss, and they're going to get the winner of the play-in game between the Aztecs and North Carolina. So that could be a favorable matchup in a 6-11 game. You got a 3 seed in Iowa State who's minus their leading scorer. You've got a 7-10 game between Marquette and New Mexico, who I don't want any part of that game. And you got Michigan State who's a 2 seed. And Sammy had mentioned earlier about St. John's. Like, historically speaking, these teams that are unranked in the preseason and wind up finishing in the top 10 in the AP poll and get a 1 or a 2 seed, they do not fare well in getting. I think they're 0 for 37 or 0 for 39 in terms of getting to the Final Four. So, like, if you look at Ole Miss, they have a path there where maybe potentially they're playing Auburn in the Elite Eight, and they very easily could have beaten Auburn and Oxford late in the year. So I think Ole Miss, with the play they can get from Padula and Beard's ability to coach in a quick turnaround, I think the Rebels might be live here at a price to maybe make the Final Four.
I like that. I think you and Sammy should bring up that stat to Patino's face. You have a lot of contacts. You can get in touch with him. You say, hey, Coach Patino, why are you even going to bother with the tournament? I got this stat for you about being unranked. And
exactly. You got no chance.
I have numbers if anybody wants conference win totals. Who do we want first? How about the SEC? 20.5.
Oof. I like the ACC over 6.5. If we think Duke's going to be good, right, in the tournament, and Clemson gets a couple wins, I feel like that over, maybe UNC wins tonight too. Does that count as a tournament game?
Yeah, I think it has to.
I was going to say that's the question. I would read them. I wouldn't think it should count. I mean, I would say, like,
they don't call it a playing round. They call it a tournament game.
It's a playing round. It's garbage.
I know it is.
I don't see any rules here besides just as over 6.5.
If it's not a tournament game, what is it?
What did our friend Mr. Murray post on his website there, Sam? Did he specify?
Says tournament wins by SEC teams, and I believe this is a tournament game.
It's a tournament game.
Garbage. It's not. Like we're going to give Alabama State or St. Francis an NCAA tournament win because they beat another 14 and 18 team. Come on.
Whether it should or not, but I know from the past that it does. They do count it. Like, if you look at all these playing, who's usually in this round? Northwest State, Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, whoever comes out, they give them a tournament win. So I don't agree with it. To me, the tournament, 64 teams. It starts noon on Thursday. Some things have to be sacred, but for the record of grading these wagers and bookkeeping, it has counted.
I just took ACC over 6.5. So there you go. I made a wager during the show like usual.
All right, so you like ACC over 6.5, and
Big Ten's 11.5. Yes, under.
How is that not an under? I'm surprised you don't love the under. You've been texting us all for months about you can't wait to fade the Big Ten in the tournament.
Yeah,
we're getting 0 from Oregon, so that'll.
The Oregon game, by the way, I think is the game that's moved the most. It's moved 3 points since opener. It was open 4.5. It's 7.5 now.
Yeah, because every Dana Altman, they haven't lost in the first round.
Correct.
And they're playing basically a home game. So I get that. But yeah, you're looking the Big Ten champion, by the way, the Michigan Wolverines. Your 5 seed in the South region, which kicks off the game that I think is probably the most anticipated game in the first round, the game that you're going to get a million theories. And I think, Will, you probably put it best. It's like you're going to feel kind of like a dummy either way. You pick Michigan and they lose. It's like, why did I pick Michigan? I knew UC San Diego was the right side, and everyone's picking UC San Diego. I'm going to pick. So it feels like one of those games that you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Matchup wise, it's like, okay, Michigan, they turn the ball over a bunch, and San Diego forces a bunch of turnovers. On the flip, you got probably Wolf and Golden are probably going to eat on the inside. I think it's an undersized team. I'm going to stay away from the side in the game completely. I'll probably pick San Diego just for the the fun part of it in the bracket pools that you get points to for picking upsets. But I think over 142 is probably a play in this game, just because you figure if those guys are going to get a bunch of points for Michigan on the inside, maybe go to the line a lot, maybe get your offensive rebounds. They're going to put a bunch, but at the same time, maybe UCSD get some points off of transition, easy points. So over 142 for me in Michigan, UC San Diego, who I think you potentially have making a deep run here.
Found 100 to 1 of them to make the Final Four. So usually you look at the Final Four and it's a beautiful blend of chalk, and then how the hell did that happen? You look at last year, we got UConn and Purdue, both the top two teams in the country playing each other, normal tournament. Except then you got the fly in the ointment with UNC, NC State. I'm sorry, who was I think an 11 seed.
How the hell did that happen, man?
Insane, absolutely insane. That's why we love the tournament. It's just you can never predict this stuff, all these trends and stuff. If it were as easy as just following the trends, we'd all have really good, almost perfect brackets. It's just not that easy. One thing I will say, Sammy, and this is has been a back and forth of I like UC San Diego, or other people say it's too trendy. I push back on the it's too trendy. I remember 2 years ago, everybody loved Furman over Virginia. I remember last year, James Madison over Wisconsin was a very popular one. Both those got home. Furman won. James Madison won. So sometimes our brains kind of play tricks on us with this stuff where, it's too trendy. That means, or it's too trendy. That's not going to happen. I think that's a very dangerous way to approach these games.
What an absolute collapse that was, by the way, on Virginia.
That was bad.
I had Virginia in that game. I was so freaking pissed off at that because I'm not a Virginia guy to begin with. I hate the way they played, and I was so mad I was so happy when they were the first 1 seed to lose, and then I was so mad when they won and they got every break go their way the following year. And I was like doubly pissed that I bet on them and they blew that game to Furman. I was so
At least you're over it.
Yeah, I'm definitely over it. It should have been Texas Tech's national title.
Differently about that game. I was on Furman and I screamed. I was at Nesson.
Square Sammy.
Yeah, exactly. And I had plus 5.5, I think they were getting, and the money line. And as they hit the shot at the buzzer, I screamed. I didn't say, let's freaking go. I said the alternative right in front of my HR director in the office, went ballistic. And that was not good. I had to sit with her after that.
And that's why Sammy is now an employee of Bear Bets.
Yeah. My language in the office needed to change. Speaking of texts that we get in the group thread, I have at least 10 texts from Jeff bagging on the Big Ten. Jeff watches the Big Ten.
I absolutely
he hates it.
I absolutely hate watching the Big Ten. I do like Wisconsin. I made that clear. I like Wisconsin. I like the way they play, but Michigan cannot stand them. I just think, guys, that's a pretty low number for.
I think Jeff hates Michigan just going back to that locker room experience at the Big House.
I mean, I don't know why I would hate it. That poor band member probably still thinks about it to this day if he watches our show. I just think the number is just kind of disrespectfully low. I get it that Michigan at times can't score, but they just went on a run where they scored a bunch of points outside of obviously that final game. They scored a decent amount in the second half of that game. We'll mention it very early, and this is the concern with Michigan. They turn the ball over just so much. How do you trust a team that just can't keep the ball to themselves? And that's my concern with Michigan here. But there's no counter for both 7-footers. San Diego doesn't have that option. So if those guys can stay out of foul trouble, can heat it up, and not turn the ball over, they're going to cover this game and win. So I just think the number's too low. I mean, San Diego, basically, you're picking them to almost win this game outright. I don't know if I could get there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it could be maybe one of those games that they win outright, or Michigan just wins going away. Michigan, by the way, Sweet 16 at least in each of their last 5 tournament appearances. That spans a couple of different coaches. So they're typically a team that gets here and does well. And you wonder if Dusty May, the fact that he's made a run with kind of an underdog type team, might get the Wolverines' attention here. In knowing not to underestimate UC San Diego. And I know, Will, you've been talking about all year long, Michigan has been winning games in
very
improbable
close
fashion. Coin flip games have been going their way. Maybe one finally doesn't go their way. Marquette, New Mexico, a game in that region that I wouldn't want any part of. You got Shaka Smart, who has struggled mightily in the tournament since making that run with VCU. You got New Mexico, which hasn't won a game in the tournament in forever. And this will kind of have to be updated after the San Diego State, North Carolina game. But if you look at the Mountain West, teams seeded 10th or worse, 1-24 in the first round, 22 straight losses. So again, you're not always betting games based on trends, but these Mountain West teams they're the same every single year. So 22 straight losses is a double-digit seed in the first round of the tournament. That's not good, and they're 1-5 in the first round. I'm sorry, 1-5 in the first four. And I think that was Colorado State last year. Wound up beating Virginia in an absolutely gross
tournament game. There we go.
game.
That goes to prove our point. Counts as a tournament game.
There we go. It counts. Yeah, it's terrific. And I'll have a best bet in this region later in the show. But let's move on to the where do we want to go? Let's go to the West, where Sammy's Gators are the number one seed there. Reigning national champion UConn against Oklahoma. That'll be their opponent. You've got the only lower seed favored over a higher seed, Colorado State, the aforementioned Rams in what might be a coaching mismatch over Memphis, and then Maryland Grand Canyon, which I think, Sammy, this is just a terrible spot for both Memphis and Maryland here. You get these two teams based in the east of the Mississippi, got to go out west to Seattle to face a Western-based team. So it's it's not a true road game, but it's a bad spot. I remember Maryland went to Boise that one year and nearly got picked off. It's just a bad spot, I think, for the Terps here.
I agree. I actually, not that people care about my bracket, but I did put Grand Canyon to beat Maryland, and I was happy to take 11.5 on Sunday because you guys know I love to pass posts on this program. So I'm going to give a number that you can't get anymore. I would still take 10.5 though.
You can probably see if someone wants to. There might be apps out there. You might be able to see. I'm going to take 11.5. If anyone wants to lay 11.5, and maybe I can take 11.5 from you. You can create your own lines.
As Will always says, odds always subject to change. But I would still take Grand Canyon plus 10.5. And one of the sharpest sides we've seen all week is also in this region. That's UConn. UConn opened 2 at the South Point, and they got blasted. It did touch 5. Now, the 5 came back. It's 4.5 now, but a lot of sharps came in, and they laid that 2.5, 3 on UConn. I know.
Like Will, we've seen this UConn team a lot. Will, is this a situation? Which is it here? Do you think it's like people you see UConn? They've won the last 2. Hurley in the tournament, and Oklahoma, they're 6-12 in the SEC, but they got some good non-conference wins early in the year.
Yeah, I remember texting not that long ago about, boy, it's just not working out in Oklahoma for Porter Moser. I thought it was a good coach. It was going to work, and I think they were getting killed by Florida that night, and they've played really well since. Won at Texas, done enough to get in this tournament, even get on the 9 line. They were squarely on the bubble. Easily could
have beaten Kentucky twice.
Yeah, absolutely. UConn Oklahoma to me is another game where you're just going to feel like an idiot. You're going to feel silly if you get the game wrong, because how do you go against UConn in March? How do you go against Hurley? That being said, all of the signs are there. They're not good defensively. They foul. They don't turn you over defensively. They don't protect the rim. I think they've got some paths for offense, so maybe this is more of an over game. But I just think there's a tax here built in on UConn. I'm surprised the market loves the Huskies as much as they do, because I just feel like you're paying a tax. You're paying a little bit extra here for the brand, the uniform, the fact that it's Hurley. And if UConn does survive, I don't give them much of a chance against Florida.
Can I interest you guys in Omaha first half against St. John's in this bracket? Bottom of this bracket, plus 11.5. I think that's what it's at right now. Against a team that obviously in St. John's doesn't shoot the ball terribly well. Neutral site game. Slow start in this game. Sammy just laughed at me, so maybe not. But Omaha does not turn the ball.
I'm in. I'll roll with you. Yeah, I'm in.
They do not turn the ball over. Omaha doesn't. They
shoot it.
Rebounding team. So I don't know. Late game. I just think look, these dogs talking about it for weeks now, right? The first half, just play these first half dogs before St. John's basically takes over defensively in this game. So I'm Omaha plus 11.5. Late game. I think it's at
9:45.
Super late game there as well.
9:45. So late game Thursday night.
Yeah. So I might not stay awake for that one, but I'll have Omaha first half in pocket for that one. I got I got Sammy. I got that good number, 11.5 on Grand Canyon as well. So
Let's go.
Can't post that now. Obviously, I do wonder too. Again, like first half idea if Drake against Missouri with how slow Drake plays, the slowest tempo team in the country. I think it's only 3.5, so his numbers is maybe lower than usual for some of these matchups. But the way they play in the first half, I mean, the way they play in general, they just grind the game to a halt. I know Missouri can get up and they're way more athletic than Drake will, but is that worth a play here? Just taking Drake.
I think it is. Like these are the types. This is a terrible, terrible matchup for Missouri. Like if you're Drake, this is the type of team that you want to see. Someone who is uncomfortable playing a slow down half court style game. Like if Drake drew, let's say, St. Mary's, like they can play that slow down half court, run your offense, patience. But Missouri, a team that wants to get out and run. I don't know how good this Drake team is. I don't think they're as good as the team that made the tournament the last couple of years, but it's a bad matchup for a Missouri team that wants to get out and go, and we'll see if they can show some discipline defensively. I don't hate Drake plus the points here at all.
The problem with
definitely go ahead, Will.
Go ahead. No, I was gonna say the problem with that, Missouri is just gonna have an athletic advantage, obviously, but I could certainly see Bear's scenario of Missouri having to defend for 25, 30 seconds, and God forbid Drake gets an offensive rebound, then you gotta defend for another 15 seconds. Does Missouri get frustrated on the other end and start chucking up bad shots, trying to speed the game up? It's always that old question of, is it easier to slow a team down or is it easier to speed a team up? I think if you do like Drake, which I tend to lean towards that side, not a bad idea to parlay it to the under, because if it's going to be Drake covering, it's going to be Drake style. And if it's going to be Missouri covering, it's going to be Missouri running and gunning and speeding Drake up and playing to an over. So I think Drake is correlated with the under. Missouri's correlated with the over. And if you can get a fair payout, the plus 260 or whatever, Sammy, that's not a bad way to go.
I would love a market on Drake to blow a 2-possession lead in the final minute, because that's what Drake does in the tournament. They got me a couple times, weren't they? I want to go back. Oh,
yes,
it was Miami. Weren't they up 6 points with a minute to go?
It was maybe more. They were up the entire game. And then it was like, oh my God, how the hell that happened? Huh?
I can't do it with Drake. I'm sorry. I can't. I've been burned by them too many times in the tournament.
Kansas, Arkansas is another game. I will have no play in this game whatsoever. Like no result here.
If you bet this, you get what you deserve. That's what you always say, Bear. That's this kind of game. If you bet this, you get whatever you deserve. Who the hell knows what's going to happen with these two teams?
Exactly. I'm totally with you. So we'll move back across to the other side. Unless anybody had anybody, I think Darian Williams and I think Texas Tech is going to be there. They'll be okay for the Wilmington game. So I wouldn't be concerned about their injury status for this game. If you like the Red Raiders, you go ahead and play them. But we'll flip over to the other side of the bracket. Where we got the we'll call it the Duke region in the East. We talked a little bit about this earlier. I think the most fascinating first round game is BYU vs Virginia Commonwealth. They're two teams that it was funny, Will, I would listen to the Megapod with you guys yesterday, and Todd and I are in simpatico. Todd Wishnev and I are simpatico here. Like BYU and Virginia Commonwealth are two teams that I wanted to play on, and of course they're playing each other here. I think the winner has a great chance here to make a run to the Elite Eight. We'll see if BYU in that altitude, being more accustomed to playing out west, maybe has a little bit of a positive effect for them. Maybe not only against Virginia Commonwealth, but if they were to advance and maybe play Wisconsin as well, who had that Big Ten tournament run. But BYU VCU, I think, is the most fascinating game in that first round there. I took Virginia Commonwealth plus the points just because I really like this team. They're really hard-nosed defensive team. Yeah, maybe they play ugly at times and maybe they have trouble scoring, but whenever they seem to need a stop or a big basket, they tend to get it. They're really well coached. They're deep. They're experienced, and I think they're the type of team that can give BYU some problems. So I'll take VCU plus the points here in round one against BYU. And the other game that I did play, I laid the 3.5 with St. Mary's against Vandy. I think Vandy, again, another really well-coached team. But again, like Missouri, they have trouble defending at times. Defensive efficiency-wise, they are not good. St. Mary's is a team that I think can exploit that. Maybe they're getting offensive rebounds, second chance points, and I think St. Mary's is a team that I typically, again, I'm not always one of these WCC, this is the year St. Mary's is going to make a run, but I do like St. Mary's here against Vandy.
I will just say that VCU BYU is like a Sweet 16 level game. Those are two really good teams. I want to take VCU. I think BYU is just a little finesse, a lot of motion, and VCU with their length, their just brute strength can disrupt that. The problem for me is they're playing this game in altitude, and BYU is used to that, and VCU just played 3 games in 3 days and had to play on Sunday. So I just worry about their legs, but I completely agree. From a schematic standpoint, I think VCU, Sammy, can do a lot of things to disrupt the precision of BYU.
Ooh, that total got decked, guys. They opened 142.5, and I see a 147 at a couple places. So that's moved 4.5 points. I understand the move. I'm not going to chase the move. And speaking of moves, South Point opened Wisconsin 23. That is now down to 16.5. And I laid a little bit of that yesterday. Now, other books open like closer to 18. People love this Montana team. And has anybody watched Montana? They stink. They're horrible. I'm laying 16.5. I'm going to lay a little bit more.
The Big Sky also 7-16-2 against the spread since 2000. Like, they're not a good conference.
They never win, right?
You know, they're 1-24. Yeah,
they could be down 27-8. I would not be surprised at all if that's how it starts.
Yeah, the pace with the Badgers, especially with how poorly they shot the other day, right? Aren't they going to want to probably come out and play a little bit better, right? Toge was exhausted in that game. He started 1 for 10 from the. I don't even know what he finished. He started 1 for 10 from the field. I have a prop I like. I'm gonna go with Nate Biddle, Oregon's big man, 16 points.
Ooh,
Oregon! You get 16 plus at DraftKings. Liberty is a tiny team. They're a very small team. Nate Biddle's very good. He's Oregon's best player, and I expect him to get a lot of points in this game. This game is, as much as I don't like watching my Ducks play, they have a lot of advantages in this game. Liberty has got to fly all the way across country to Seattle. Play essentially is a home game for Oregon. The last game, by the way, of the first 2 rounds. It's gonna be the first round. This game is late Friday night. I like Biddle to have a bunch of points in this game. So I have a prop bet already hand for the East region here.
Jeff, Jeff's saying he doesn't like watching Oregon play. I checked the Oregon messages boards. The message boards. We're going a long way in this tournament, Jeff. The Ducks are going to be flying.
They don't like me. They do not. Yeah, I mean, some of the
message board stuff is
so funny. The message board stuff is so funny to me. Like, they're like, Duke doesn't have Cooper Flag, guys. We can do it. Like, he's gonna play. What are we doing? He's gonna play in the tournament. They're just very up and down. I mean, they've been 2 tournament teams since January 1st. They beat Alabama and A&M 4 months ago. I feel like basketball's changed a little bit in 4 months, but I mean, look, they could play great.
Beat Alabama again in the second round.
They could get there eventually. So no, I just like that prop in this game. I already have it in pocket. So Arizona's beating Akron, guys. Are we in on that? We in on that?
That's one of those high variance games. I mean, all Akron does is shoot threes. I mean, if they make them, they got a chance. If they don't make them, they're going to get blown out. But I mean, that's the thing with Arizona. Like this has been their MO. They've gotten bounced. I think it's like each of the last 4 times they've been in 6 straight tournaments, they've been knocked out by a team at least 4 seed lines lower, including every year under Tommy Lloyd. So these are typically the types of games that they lose. But I'm scared because I actually think I wasn't high on them at all for most of the year. And then late in the year, they started getting really good. They got players, and I don't know why, but I just get a sense that this region could yield a pretty wild result. By that meaning, not only Duke not winning, but getting a BYU, a Virginia Commonwealth, a St. Mary's, a team like an Arizona, a team like that to the Final Four. I didn't mention Alabama there just because I'm not sold with how they play defensively, but it brings up another interesting point about I didn't mention it with Omaha, even though we mentioned maybe taking Omaha first half plus the points. Like if you go back 3 of the last 4 years, we've seen a 15 knock off a 2. And typically it's a 15 that was really good in their conference during the season. They won their regular season conference title, and then they won the conference tournament title. And you look at the 15s this year, you got Robert Morris, who's one of them. You got Omaha, who's one of them. And there was another one of those 15s that was and Bryant.
Right,
so you got 3 15 seeds that won their regular season and the conference tournament. They were clearly the best team in the league. So they're pretty good 15 seeds. Like, is Alabama the most likely of those 2s, do you think, to lose in the first round? Or Tennessee, Michigan State, St. John's would be the other ones in trouble? Do we get another 15 over a 2 this year?
You know, it's funny growing up watching this tournament. You could count, I think, like on one hand for a while, the number of 15s that won. It was like Steve Nash and Santa Clara, and then eventually
Richmond over Syracuse.
Coppin State, I think, maybe beat South Carolina one year. Now we've gotten a flurry of them. That being said, if I had to pick one, I don't want to because I don't think any of them lose. I just don't know. Bryant, I think they play too fast. I always say this, upsets happen in the 50s, 60s, not the 70s, 80s. Bryant likes to run. That's no good. I guess maybe you can get a bad shooting night from St. John's, and Omaha hits a bunch of threes, and Omaha can keep them off the glass. I worry going from Summit to what the physicality of St. John's is going to bring, Sammy. So I don't really want to pick one here. I don't think we get one, Sammy.
Well, I was watching the Selection Sunday show, and Adam Zucker at one point said, it's a good idea to put 1s and 2s into the second weekend. And I thought, let me write that down real quick. Greg Gumbel never told me that. 1s and 2s far second weekend? Very interesting show on Sunday, I thought. And Seth Davis, guys, he's just throwing out haymakers now. He's got High Point in the Sweet 16. He's got Bears.
Parlay. You got to parlay all of his picks.
Money line parlay, 1s and 2s in the first round. There you go.
I did what Sammy sent over the tweet someone put out of all the picks that Seth Davis had in the first couple of rounds. I just put them in the parlay. Obviously opposite direction. So it pays out. Where's it at right here? Something to root for. A little sprinkle. It pays out. It's it's really a lot of favorites because he picked all the underdogs to win. So it's like Clemson, Purdue, UCLA, Michigan, A&M, UConn, and Memphis to win. Because the other side he picked all those upsets. So there we go. We'll see what happens.
He's got Bears team in the Elite 8. He's got BYU Elite 8.
Okay.
All right.
But that wouldn't surprise me. The winner of that game getting to the 8 wouldn't surprise me. It's just this.
Just no Sunday games for them, right?
It's just the ridiculousness of everyone just putting these like the selection show that I watched in the room on ESPN, where Jay and Jay, who I love both of them to death, you're putting 1s and 2s in the Elite 8, like in the match. It just doesn't happen. I put out a tweet earlier today. Like, there's never been an Elite 8 where you've had all 1s and 2s. Only once there's been a combined 7 of them.
It's 2.
It just doesn't happen. The last time all 4 1s made the Elite 8 was 2016. 2007 was the last time more than 2 2s made it. It doesn't happen. Like, I get it. You don't want to be embarrassed and pick Marquette, just a 7 seed or whoever, to make the Elite 8 and have them lose in the first round. But you're more likely going to be wrong and maybe look even more foolish just picking all these 1s and 2s, and then they get bounced in the second round or the first round, because that's happened a lot lately.
One more thing on that. We have no appetite to sit there and get people's picks 10 minutes after the bracket comes out. We want to see who got screwed, who got in that didn't deserve it, vice versa, break down who's overseeded, who's underseeded. That Sunday bracket show is supposed to be about the bracket. We get the picks Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We got plenty of times for the picks. I don't need to see Jay Billis' bracket 5 minutes after they spit it out to us. I don't know if you guys feel the same way.
And in fairness, just to piggyback on that real quick before, that's ultimately what happens. Having been on that set, been working and having to run out there after they see the bracket for a minute, and it's like, okay, give me your. They really don't have a chance to digest the matchups, and it's like, okay, I'll just and you kind of default to just picking who you think the better team is. So while they're doing it, there is a reason why you can cut up a little bit of slack.
Are you going to testify, Bear, at the West Virginia v. NCAA lawsuit about them not getting the tournament? Are you going to be one of the people that testifies? They were in 111 brackets, like in bracket matrix that list all the brackets out that everyone does. They made 111 of them and didn't make the tournament. I'm not one that believes in like a lot of grand conspiracy theories. Like I don't think North Carolina's athletic director made sure they were in. It just doesn't. It's not a good look, though, right? That he gets a bonus if Carolina makes the tournament, and he's also the head of the committee. Like that's just. It's not a good look. I don't think that they got in because of that, but they are in a standalone game on Tuesday night. I mean, kind of good for the networks, you know. So it's all. I think it's a bad look all around to have a team that was a 1-12 in quad one wins make the tournament here.
I got to remember this when they said that he left the room. And I go, yeah, after he screamed at everybody and told them what to
do. and I love how, and again, you can like twist the information and the facts to like support whatever argument you make. It's like, okay, they got no resume. They got one win against quad one and X wins against the field. Yeah, but they're the highest in Ken Pom of any of those other teams and the power rated teams in the net. So they absolutely should be in. And then on the flip, it's like Gonzaga, they're 9th in Ken Pom. They got screwed as an 8 seed. Yeah, but they don't have any wins either. So it's so funny. Like that Gonzaga game, the Gonzaga Georgia game, as we move regions over to the to the Midwest. That is a fascinating game. I love Georgia in this game. Again, you're talking about a team. They've got to win over a number 1 and a number 2 seed. They've beaten St. John's and they've beaten Florida. Like they're really good. Now they have blown their fair share of games, but I love Georgia plus 6.5 in this game. I know Gonzaga has won like 15 straight first round games and they've been to the Sweet 16 like 9 straight years. And I know they got those historical things going for them, but I don't think this is a vintage Gonzaga team at all. They lost both games to St. Mary's in the regular season. They finally beat them in the conference title game. They beat Baylor and they beat somebody else way early in the season in the non-conference. I can't remember who the hell it was right now. They lost to West Virginia. They lost to like this is not a vintage Gonzaga team. And again, I could be sitting there just like we were joking about Drake blowing a game, leading by 6 with a minute to go and losing. Maybe I'll be sitting here doing that again. But I think this Georgia team has an excellent chance to win this game outright.
Well, they got bet, no doubt. Sharps are on the dog. They took 6.5 and 6, and there's
I'm
a lot
sharp,
of 5.5.
Sammy. Thank you. Thank you for
Bear.
finally letting me know I'm sharp, despite what social media says.
I'll see you on the next show, Bear. I just got to say you're sharp, and then I always come back. That said, look at this graphic, guys. An 8 seed has the 3rd shortest odds to win the region. You don't see that. It's just not a thing. So I know the metrics like Gonzaga. We know Ken Pom just like salivates over Gonzaga. I'm not there, but I mean, this is all just power rating and bookmaking. To have Gonzaga with a shorter price than Kentucky, Purdue, and Clemson. The books are respecting them a little bit more than they're letting on here by putting them on line 3.
Yeah, to go back to one thing we were just talking about, by the way, Bear, another thing we don't have access to is to miss the tournament the day of the selection or really ever. Jeff was talking about, man, I like Indiana to miss it. Well, I think it was like 3-1. North Carolina was 5-1 to make it. There wasn't even a price on West Virginia. I guess Indiana got up.
Carolina was 5-1 to miss.
5-1. No, 5-1 to make.
5-1 to make. Weren't they like?
Sorry. Yes.
Plus 550.
It was the other way. It was 1-5 to not make.
The dog cashed. The long price cash. So that's one.
Yes.
Man, if you're around, if you keep that in mind for next year, and you're around a state that has those, the market is just not always right on those. But I agree. I think Gonzaga, it's probably too many points here laying to Georgia. What does that, Sammy? What does that number look like next round if it's Gonzaga, Houston? Because Ken Pom's going to have that at like what, 2? Is that like a 3-4 point line?
Yeah, 3.5. 3.5, I think. I'm sorry, Bear. I took Houston out early. I took them out early.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I took them out with Gonzaga.
Dangerous.
Yeah. I am dangerous for sure.
I like this Houston team. I made 2 tournament win bets and 2 reach the Final Four bets immediately when the odds got posted. I bet Texas Tech like plus 550 to reach the Final Four and 33-1 or whatever it was to win the title. And I added more Houston to the portfolio that I have, plus 750 to win the title and plus 150 to reach the Final Four. I bet those 2 teams pretty strongly. I think they got a great run. They just got to stay healthy. I mean, they shoot it better than they have in the past, and I think that's a look. If they're playing Purdue, fine, sign me up. My opinions of Gonzaga are known. Clemson maybe could give them a little bit of shot, and then whomever gets there from the bottom, fine. I love this Houston team, and I think they've lost once in regulation all year. Lost like 3 overtime games. They're freaking good, man.
I believe you. I don't agree, but sure, you made a pass.
You don't agree? You think Houston's terrible?
No, I don't think they're going to win the championship. I think I understand they're better in offense this season, but we've seen the game move to being able to just put the ball in the basket at a really high rate. And I don't know if Houston does that well enough to win a championship. That's it.
You just look at the way that they bow out every year. They always have that game where they can't crack 60. And I know that it's not fair to say that because it's happened, it will happen. But last year they scored 51 and lose.
Shed
23.
Got hurt. They would have won the game. They'd go to the Final Four if Shed doesn't get hurt.
I mean, but there's several examples of them. I mean, the year they scored 44 against Villanova in 2022.
In the Final Four.
And lost. Like,
in the Final Four.
There's a pattern of them not scoring. There's a pattern
Miami.
of them not putting the ball in the basket.
We'll see.
The Final Four was that Elite Eight that Nova Houston game. Might have been
Final Four.
That was Final Four.
Right? No.
No,
Am I right?
Elite Eight. No,
It was Elite Eight. Yes,
I thought it was Elite Eight.
I don't know.
it was the Elite Eight because then that Villanova team went to the Final Four and lost. Yeah.
So we got Duke, Houston, and Auburn, Florida in the Final Four. That's the early consensus around here.
Yeah, playing all the twos.
Yeah.
I did. Here's a team I thought about. And I also, let me start by saying I went here. So take this with a grain of salt.
I'm with you.
Oh no.
Illinois? Can Illinois make a run, Will?
I got him in my Elite Eight.
Do you?
Yes.
I
had
that
I
you know
Need on
every
my
fight.
podcast
Barrett just
last
knows
week.
Every fight song. I love it's the best.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get everybody upset by calling him a Linoweck here. I'm gonna get hate mail now for saying that.
I still hail
It's
to the
banned,
team.
right, Sammy Chief of Linoweck?
Nope, he's not in this house. He's not.
Damn right he's not.
Oh, I mean, also, look, if Illinois,
I'm going to be giving you let's go Redmen. I'm going to be giving you all the names that I grew up with.
Also, Troy can beat Kentucky, right? We think maybe,
Sure.
or they just not
Can
like
they score?
Well, that's the question, right? But then if that happens, obviously that helps Illinois out, right? Illinois can beat the winner of Xavier, Texas, and then all of a sudden Illinois is in the Sweet 16. So certainly a path for that to happen pretty quickly. And then it'd be obviously Tennessee or UCLA. I know Bear likes the Bruins a lot, so you could a matchup of a 6-7 matchup in Sweet 16.
Sammy, wasn't there some sharp play on UCLA Utah State as well?
Yeah, big time. They laid 4.5 and 5,
Good.
and that
As
team
did I.
also got bet to make the Elite Eight. So
Okay,
look, that's probably, if you ask most people, that's probably the bracket of chaos, right? I mean, it's probably Auburn or Michigan State top left. It's probably Duke top right. Bottom left's probably Florida or Texas Tech or Johnny's, I guess. But I mean, I just feel like, man, that was the region. I'll speak for myself. I thought about putting a bunch of teams to go on runs. Like I can make a case for Kentucky, for Illinois, for Tennessee, for UCLA, Clemson, Gonzaga, Houston. That region to me is just wide open, but I could be very wrong there.
I'm on the island there. I'm on the island there with Kelvin Sampson and the Cougars. So, guys, that was fun. We'll do it again next week to preview the Sweet 16 and what we see from there. Maybe. Oh, there was a tournament, wasn't there? A basketball tournament that ended this week. Didn't that unrivaled tournament end?
You tell me, Bear. That
you were saying something about that before, Jeff. Like
all I know is
Angel Reese's team won, right?
They did, yeah. The Rose, congratulations. I don't know what the odds were though, but they won. Yes.
We did bet against Bradley tomorrow. 2 of their better players decided to leave to go to Cancun or something. They're not playing.
Good for them.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I didn't play a lot of sports. Look at me, Jeff. But when 2 seniors on a basketball team leave and don't go to the NIT, that's probably not good for the program, right?
Literally 1, 2, 3 Cancun in the truest sense of the words. Thanks, guys.
All right, Bear. That was a meaty gambling group chat. Hope we got you set for all the regions because there's a lot of basketballs. 34 games, including those playing, which do count, Bear. I know you don't like that. They do count as tournament wins. Like if America East West, I think that's one of the teams, wins, they're playing us. They should be allowed to put a banner up in their arena saying they won a March Madness game. So we have all these to choose from, Bear. What is your best bet for the first round of the NCAA tournament?
I love Creighton plus the 2.5 against Louisville.
Okay.
I think this is going to be a game where I think it actually opened up at around a pick and it's moved to Louisville minus 2.5. I'm hoping to get a 3 by tip. People are the game's going to be at Rupp. People are wound up that Louisville is an 8 seed or a 9, whatever the hell they are, and they're 10th in the AP poll. And the AP poll is the worst possible indicator of like a team and where you should be ranked or seated to power ranked or whatever. But the ACC was down really bad this year. I think if you look at who Louisville has actually beaten this year, or they should say haven't beaten non-conference, they've lost to Ole Miss, they've lost to Tennessee, they've lost to Kentucky, they lost to someone else too. I can't remember who it was as well. But you look at flip side at Creighton, like it's a team that's deep experience, the outside combination, Kalkbrenner and Stephen Ashworth. I think they're going to create a lot of problems. I think they're going to get some good shots against Louisville. Look, I get Louisville being angry and the disrespected team going to be on their home court. I think a lot of people are going to be on Louisville for that instance. But I think this Creighton team as an underdog is the right side here.
That's not going to help my ACC over win total, Bear, but I'm basically banking on Clemson.
I picked it just for I did that just for you.
I'm as I made a wager during the show. So my best bet will have an ACC team in it. I like Clemson to cover against McNeese State here, minus the 7.5. McNeese is just small, Bear. And I know they battle in some of these games, but Clemson is big. They're going to get a lot of rebounds. And they do the things, again, I talked about earlier, that really win these games and cover. They don't turn the ball over and they make their foul shots. And they make their shots. Teams that make their foul shots typically are good shooting teams as well, Bear. So I feel like McNeese State's going to be a very public side here. Kind of that 5-12 matchup. We saw them play well against Alabama all the way back in November. I don't count games that happened like before the new year, Bear, in my handicapping of games now. I don't know why we do that so much.
That's your football mindset.
It is definitely my football mindset in that. Like those games happened 4 months ago. They should not matter for now. Nonetheless, here, I like Clemson over minus 7.5 here. Also, like I told you earlier, the Nate Biddle prop, it's either 15 plus points at minus 155 or 17 points. As of right now, at plus like 110. I like the 15 plus points, minus 155, the Oregon Center against Liberty. Last game of the tournament on Friday night.
And McNeese was one of those teams last year in the tournament that was a very trendy underdog, and I think they were down like 40-10 at one point. Didn't do well, and could be a future conference mate for Will Wade, who's rumored to go to NC State. Maybe a future ACC rival Clemson could be on his on the docket here. But good stuff. Appreciate you, Jeff. As always, we'll be back again next week to kick around the Sweet 16, and we'll have some baseball talk, we'll have some Masters talk. Sammy and Will, good meaty group chat, like you said. Thanks everybody for rating, reviewing, subscribing, downloading wherever you get your podcast and your digital media, Apple, Spotify, the Bear Bet YouTube channel, whatever. Thanks to everybody in the studio for dealing with us at a nice early time again today. And most importantly, everybody remember, the less you bet, the more you lose when you win.